This is Dr. Velez, and welcome back to dsunion.org. We are going to be talking about Jeff Sessions today. As always, the left portrays him as, can you guess? A racist, a bigot, a misogynist, and a homophobe, of course. But in this case, racism, because the Russians are coming, the Russians are coming. And of course you can't blame the Russians. Maybe the Russians hacked into Trump's computer and suggested Mike Sessions, the Russians. Okay, but anyway, enough Russian fear-mongering. Jeff Sessions, for all intents and purposes, we can say he's a pretty stand-up guy and a great pick for Attorney General. Though Trump, I would have preferred Trey Gowdy, but that's just personal preference. I have no problem with Jeff Sessions. Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit about Jeff Sessions, but first, he's also a baby boomer. Keeping in mind that Trump is not a baby boomer. Trump is 70 years old, so Trump belongs to the generation, which we call the Great Generation. This is the generation that built the FBI, that built the CIA, whether you like them or hate them, that gave us these great institutions. This is the generation that built the massive institutions that we have today of government and has managed them predominantly until, of course, Barack Hussein Obama, which I'm trying to bite my tongue and not say any negative things about him, but Obama was the first of Generation X, being a very young president, in comparatively speaking, and at least we have a president that is a bit older and has a lot more experience. But we're talking about Jeff Sessions now, so I'm going to read his bio. He was born December 24th, 1946, so next month, happy birthday, being born on Christmas Eve. So he's probably America's gift, right? So him and Michael Flynn will have a birthday next month. We'll be sure to celebrate that. I'll make a cake and I'll eat it for them. So Jefferson Beauregard, dear God, what a name. So happy we don't do this anymore. Jefferson Beauregard Jeff Sessions III. Okay, I'm going to have to think about what I'm going to name my child, because with this name, you know that child's going to go into politics and become a senator. Jefferson Beauregard Jeff Sessions III. Born December 24th, 1946. He's the first elected in 1996 to the Alabama, to be a senator for Alabama. From 1981 to 1993, he served as the U.S. Attorney General of the Southern District of Alabama. Sessions was elected Attorney General in Alabama in 1994 and to the U.S. Senate in 1996, being re-elected 2002 to 2008 and 2014. Sessions was ranked by National Journal in 2007 as the fifth most conservative U.S. senator. Way to go, Sessions. Good for you. Citing, I wonder who the other four were. I have to look that up. If anybody found that, please link it below, because I'm lazy. I probably won't do it. So he sided strongly with the Republican Party on political issues. To be expected. He supported the major legislative efforts of George W. Bush administration, including 2001 and 2003 tax cut packages, the Iraq War. I guess we all make mistakes. I'll try to forgive him for that, but it's hard for me. And a proposed national amendment to ban same-sex marriage. Yeah, this is where Jeff and I are gonna disagree a lot. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. He has opposed the Democratic leadership since 2007 on most major legislation, including a stimulus bill, the Patient Protection and Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, and Don't Ask, Don't Tell Repeal Act, which I also would have supported to not go through with that for other reasons, not because of I'm against homosexuality, but we'll talk about that in a minute. As a ranking Republican in the Senate Judiciary Committee, he opposed all three of President Barack Obama's nominees for the Supreme Court. Oh, just the damage that Obama has done to this country. That's incredible. People can bitch and complain now, but I think history is going to look at this, and the first black president, I say black president not because I'm racist, but because his mother was white. Come on. The first black president we're probably not going to have another black president for a long, long time, and it's his fault. not because of the color of your skin, but because the assholeness of your character. Sessions was considered as a possible running mate for Donald Trump, but he chose Mike Pence. I think that was a great choice for him, Mike Pence, for VP. Okay, so let's talk about the controversy with Sessions and why the leftists are going racist. Yeah, he's a racist. Michael T. Flynn is a racist. Jeff Sessions is a racist. Mike Pompeo is a racist. They're all racist. If you're a Trump supporter, you're a racist, even though you probably voted for Obama, but you became a racist, right? If you're a Latino, you're an Uncle Tom. Early life and education. Sessions was born in Hobart, Alabama. Doesn't say what his parents did. Okay, so here's the problem here. President Reagan nominated Sessions to be U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of Alabama. The Senate confirmed him, and he held that position for 12 years. But in 1985, and this is where all of the problems come in. In 1985, Sessions prosecuted 3 African-American community organizers in the Black Belt of Alabama, including Martin Luther King Jr.'s former aide, Albert Turner, for voter fraud. The prosecution stirred charges of selective prosecution of black voters' registration and was based no more than 14 tampered ballots. And the defendants, known as the Marion Three, were quickly acquitted. Look, you do voter fraud 14 times, 100 times, 1,000,000 times, or 1 time, voter fraud is voter fraud. I'm surprised they acquitted them. But, you know, I wasn't there and I don't know what happened. But whenever you scream racism, something happens and people tend to back off because they don't want to be seen as a racist. Well, there's a new generation of conservatives and we don't give a shit what you think. We're not politically correct. We don't care. We're going to speak our minds. And if niggers want to say niggers and if spics want to say spics, we're going to call them niggers and spics. Not because we want to, not because we're racist, but how many black comedians say this nigger, that nigger? How many Latinos, by the way, I'm Latino and I'm Hispanic, they say, oh, the spics this and that. You know how terrible that is? And yet they call themselves that. But if a white person says that, racist. You know, we have to take a look at ourselves as a country. And we have to see ourselves and say, well, is this really what we want? Is this really what we want to pass down to our children? And I got to tell you something. I look at the alleged racism, and in my life, I have seen racism, but it's never been from white people. All the racism that I personally have experienced has been from black people. And I don't think all black people are racist. I don't think most black people are racist. I just think some are ridiculously ignorant. And usually they're very low educated, have very low socioeconomic state. You know what? Psychology definitely has a lot to say about this. And it's not a surprise at all that the majority of the racism comes from that poor sector and from the rich liberal sector of Hollywood, because that's even more racist, but politically correct racism, right? So here's where the controversy occurs, right? Sessions confirmation hearings began for the Senate Judiciary Committee, before the Senate Judiciary Committee for Department of Justice lawyers who had worked with Sessions testified that he had made several racist statements in the context of the Marion 3 case. So he was said to have said a lot of racist things. But here's the curious part. The people that said it themselves, okay? Let me see where I can find this here. Okay, here we go. The person who accused him of this was accused of embezzling $50,000, of using $50,000 to tamper with a federal grand jury, and he himself was convicted and put in jail. So the allegations, of course, the damage was already done to Sessions, and this was during Reagan's administration. Reagan could not afford, because Reagan was walking a very tight line. Keep in mind that Reagan was forced to take George W. Bush, a neoconservative globalist, on, and Reagan was none of those things. So Reagan had to walk a middle path, and he couldn't afford to have Sessions in if he was supposedly a racist, even though there wasn't any evidence, and even though later on the charges did not stick because the person who accused him ended up being a criminal. And if you're a criminal, you're your testimony should be in question. So, and he says, here's the thing. Figures also said that Sessions had called him boy. So he said boy, and boy was supposed to be a racist statement. I know the Southerners have said boy to white people, black people, and everybody else. So I don't consider that to be a racist statement. And, you know, Sessions has worked really hard, and he practically eradicated the Ku Klux Klan from Alabama. He has done a lot of great work. Now, but he has said that he's often loose because he said that that the NAACP and other civil rights organizations are un-American. And he said that he's often loose with his tongue and he may have said something he didn't mean. Okay, I'll say it. The NAACP is un-American, and a lot of these civil rights our groups are not about civil rights. They're not. They're not about equality. They're not about fairness. This is where we call out their bullshit. It's not about fairness. It's not about equality, and they are un-American. Un-American means that you go against the will of the founding fathers and the Constitution and the intent for this country. Okay, so Sessions, there's a lot more to go on because Sessions has a long political career. So he was in the 109th Congress. Sessions introduced legislation, I love this, to increase the death gratuity benefit for families of servicemen from $12,420 to $100,000. The bill also increased the level of coverage under servicemen's group life insurance from $250,000 to $400,000. Sessions legislation was accepted in the Supplemental Appropriations Act of 2005. So he voted, the bill, lobbied, and got it passed, that I'm assuming the president then subsequently signed, where we would pay, instead of $12,420, $100,000 for our veterans that have died, or not veterans, excuse me, for our servicemen that have died, and up to $400,000 of medical coverage for our veterans. I still think that's a bit low. I think that it should probably be closer to $1 million. And I realize that's going to be very expensive for the country, but these are men and women that put their lives on the line for us. If they get injured on the job, we, the American people, we, the American taxpayers, owe it to them. We owe it. That is our debt to them for putting on that uniform and defending our interests. So good for Sessions for doing that. And that really bodes well as Attorney General. That bodes well for him. Sessions was also one of only 3 senators to vote against the funding of the VA medical system. He opposed the bill due to concerns and indicated that Congress should instead focus on reforms and solutions. Look, this is also what Trump has said. No more regulations, no more extra money. Let's find a way to use what we have effectively, get rid of the regulations we don't need. And if more money is needed, then we shall see. But you can't fix a problem simply by throwing money in it. Right? You just can't do it. You have to actually go in and see what isn't working. Try to fix that first. And then if it's necessary, allocate resources. And this is another one which I think is what has a lot of liberals peeing in their diapers right now. Sessions has taken a strong stand against any form of citizenship for illegal immigrants. Sessions was one of the most vocal critics of the Comprehensive Immigration Reform Act of 2007, and he is a supporter of E-Verify, the federal database that allows businesses to electronically verify the immigration status of potential new hires, and has advocated for expanded construction of the southern border fence. God bless you, Sessions. Phenomenal. Sessions was one of 25 senators to vote against the Emergency Economic Stabilization Act of 2008, also known as the bailout. There's a really good movie called The Big Short, if you really want to understand what the bailout was about. Go watch that movie. In my opinion, those banks should have failed because right now they're even bigger than they were before. So Congress was held hostage, and I remember this. I was 28 years old. I remember when this happened. Congress was held hostage and was told, you have to do this because those banks are too big to fail. What happened? Well, those banks reported record earnings that year. And the CEOs paid themselves record bonuses. That was their reward for screwing over the American people. Or I should say, and a lot of that money, by the way, a lot of the bailout money didn't go to US banks. It went to European banks. Don't believe me? Go and check yourself. Don't believe anything I say. Go and check. Most of that money went to paying European banks, not United States banks. By the way, Hillary Clinton supported that. Just a little tidbit. Sessions opposed an $813 billion stimulus, calling it a large spending bill in the history of the Republic. The largest spending bill in the history of the Republic. Late 2011 increased skepticism about 447 billion jobs bill would produce by Obama. Okay, so Obama didn't really use the 447 billion to create jobs. What he did was redefine the definition of what unemployment is. So unemployment is only people who are looking for jobs, who are receiving benefits and looking for jobs. People who stop receiving benefits are no longer considered unemployed. This is where your head should hurt. People who no longer have a job are not considered unemployed. If you don't have a job, you're not unemployed. Wow. Just again, go and check that yourself. So look, a few more things on social issues, and this is where I disagree a lot with Sessions. Sessions, he voted. Okay, so as Attorney General of Alabama, Sessions worked to deny funding to student gay straight alliances at the Auburn University. I'm okay with that. Not because it's a gay straight alliance. I don't think that university funds or federal funds should be used for this crap. If the students want to do that, organize it, raise the money yourselves. That money is meant for education, not for dicking around. Sessions has been an opponent of same-sex marriage and has earned a 0 rating from the Human Rights Campaign, the largest LGBTQ adversary. No, I'm not saying that. The largest lesbian gay community. That whole, or I'll say LGB, okay? The transgender and queer or curious or whatever. Now, stop adding letters to it. LGB, the LGB community. Okay, this, he earned a 0, which is meaningless, but I will say this. I don't think that it's wrong for a man and a man to get married, a woman to get married. I don't care. I honestly don't care. Are they happy? That's fine. What I do mind is pushing it to teach children that is an acceptable option. No, it's not. An acceptable option is man and woman traditional marriage. If you happen to be born this way, society should understand and allow you to be who you're going to be, but don't try to make society the way you want it to be. I don't think that that's right. Sessions has also regarded the appointment of gay Supreme Court justices, saying that a person who's gay basically is disqualified. I also disagree with that. I don't see a problem with having a gay Supreme Court justice as long as they're qualified in every other way. And not that that's a disqualifier. Sessions is against the legalization of cannabis. Oh, Sessions, you and I are having a big problem here. I don't, not just my love for cannabis, but look, whatever you put in your body should be your choice. Shouldn't be government's choice. You should decide what you should put in your body, with the exception of things such as methamphetamines, heroin, and cocaine to a certain extent. Why? Because those hijack the NAC pathways on the first time you try it. They hijack that pathway in the brain. Those are too dangerous to be allowed. Just like we don't allow people to, shoot up asbestos and cyanide. For those same reasons, we shouldn't allow that. But marijuana is less damaging than alcohol. So Sessions is pro-life. Obviously, Sessions is pro-life. That's neither here nor there. Look, that's all I disagree with Sessions on. Other than that, he has led a long, wonderful career of serving the American people, supporting the Republic and the ideals of the Republic. So great choice, Donald Trump. I love the choice of Jeff Sessions, and I hope that more and more people in your administration are like him. Thank you very much. Now, if you have any questions, comments, please comment below, like and subscribe. And if you have any suggestions of people that you want me to review, please do so. If you disagree or if you find more information about Jeff Sessions, post it below and I will try to read it and make a new video for it. So thank you very much. Please go to www.dsjudian.org for information you're not going to get from the mainstream media, focusing largely on Asia and Europe. Thank you very much. This has been Dr. Velez, and I will see you next time.